What is going on, Soccer Fiends? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day. Today we are here with a video on my projected starting lineup and some substitutes for the World Cup 2022 that we will certainly be a part of. There's not a single doubt in my mind that we won't be there. So, feeling good, feeling good. I'll throw the table up on screen now, and essentially we're 4 points above the playoff spot and 5 points above the spot where you don't even make it to the World Cup at all in any form. One window left, 9 points possible, and we play the team in 4th place and 5th place as well, so you know, it could go drastically wrong. The same sort of thing would have to happen with the Trinidad and Tobago incident of 2018, which was very, very, very unlucky. So odds are we'll be fine, and I'm going to assume that for this video, so let's go ahead and get on over to the lineup. So I'm going to build up from the back, you know, build the suspense. At the goalkeeper spot, I have Zach Steffen. I feel like that is because he fits our system the best in terms of his feet, and that's sort of what we've been going for. Now, I could see a scenario where maybe Greg Berhalter just sort of accepts that we're going to be a lesser team against certain teams that we play, and with that, maybe Matt Turner gets some run out, because if we're assuming that we're a lesser team in a scenario, then we might want to have a different strategy. Greg Berhalter hasn't been the best at having different strategies for different games, so I wouldn't assume that to be the case. However, it could be, and I could see that happening essentially. So odds are probably not, but you never know. So Zach Steffen in goal seems pretty clear cut. However, he's been injured a lot, so you never know. Maybe he'll have back spasms and we won't see him. But I don't really buy too many cards of the goalkeepers though, so I don't concern myself too much with it, but up to you. At left back, I have Anthony Robinson. Sort of a clear-cut left back at this point for us. He's head and shoulders above anyone else behind him because there really is no one behind him. The only people that are even close, you could say, would be Joe Scally and Jonathan Gomez maybe, and neither of them have appeared much, if at all, depending on which one you're talking about, with the national team. So with that said, not really any worries. Maybe 2026, it might not be Anthony. 2022, I have a strong feeling it is. So going to go with him. Next to him, I'm going to throw John Brooks there. Up in the air a little bit, I would say. He wasn't in the last camp due to form. That's what Greg Berhalter said. However, he's looked pretty good, and a lot of people seem to think that it might be due to Greg and John Brooks sort of getting into it and not really getting along too much. And maybe that lingers. However, sort of given our center back situation at the time, I don't think that he's going to let that really hamper our team. So with that said, I think Brooks makes it. However, might not. I will offer some substitutes later, but I think he will be our starter. Next to him, I have Chris Richards. He's progressing pretty well in the Bundesliga, becoming a more regular starter essentially at a mid to high table club. So that's what you love to see. In terms of how he plays for us, he definitely can cover for Brooks a good bit, which is what you're looking for over there. And as far as his caliber of play, he is playing higher opposition than anyone else that's even close to him. Walker Zimmerman and Miles Robinson have also been ones that have sort of come in and out of the center back positions. The center back spots are honestly more of a toss-up than most. The only thing that's more of a toss-up would be the 9 spot that we'll talk about later. So here, I don't see anything, written in stone, but I think that means there's opportunity for other people to come on in if you're interested in not, purchasing cards of those guys, for instance. Next to them, at right back, I have Serginho Dest. That's basically a clear-cut thing at this point. He did have a rough go with Barcelona where they were kind of throwing him under the bus, and to be honest, he wasn't performing incredible, but I think they had a lot more problems than just him. He's been performing pretty good lately, though, and realistically, he can play right back and left back, and he does that for Barcelona as well. And so if they see him as this positionless wing back, like that's good enough for the U.S. men's national team, I would assume. And he has been one of our better players throughout qualifying. Definitely got better as qualifying went on too, which is something I like to see. If he sort of stayed the same way he was at the beginning of qualifying, it would worry me a little bit. He'd still be a starter, to be honest, but at least I can see him coming into form with the team, and I like that. For our midfielders, on the left-hand side, we're going to go with Yunus Musa. Now, this could change depending on if Gio Reyna is healthy, which, cross our fingers, should be. Maybe he gets played as a midfielder, but I'm going to assume he's a forward. And if he is a forward, then Yunus Musa at the left center mid location makes the most sense to me. He's played really well for us so far. He does, maybe keep the ball a little too long at times, not find the right pass and make it a speed type of game where you can just kind of flow a little bit quicker. But he is able to bring the ball up the field and really glide past a lot of defenders and set your attack going forward and really open up those numbers. And that's what you like to see, especially on our team where we don't have a lot of people that can necessarily do that. So to have him to be able to just at times carry a game for us is something you definitely would like to have for our team. Now defensively, not the most sound, but definitely not anything that's going to keep him out of the lineup from my perspective, especially with the talent that we have at center mid. We don't have a lot of depth at center mid. We have a lot of young guys, but not a lot of quality, high-level depth at this point, so I think he's up there for us. Then at our number 6, the center defensive mid area, go for Tyler Adams. This is as much of a lock-in spot as many other places on our team, considering the fall-off from him to Kellen Acosta is pretty massive. I will say Kellen Acosta is better at spraying the ball, so in terms of passing from that position, I think he's better. But everything else, Tyler Adams really cleans up for some of the attacking presence that's in our midfield. He can make up for that. In addition to that, John Brooks isn't necessarily the best defender or the quickest defender. So with that, it is nice to have Tyler Adams there to be able to cover for him as well. So that seems like a lock spot for me. Next to him, Weston McKennie. Assuming he's healthy again, he should only be out for 2 to 4 months, so he should be good at this point. And if that's the case, by far our best midfielder at the moment, so he's got to be a lock. Not really too much I have to say there. Really good pushing the ball forward. At this point, becoming more of a holistic midfielder and really shining for Juve, which is brilliant. So beside that, we have the top 3, the 3 forwards. And here, I almost think you could intermix them the way that I'm going to put it. At the striker spot, I'm going to put Gio Reyna. False 9, everyone likes to coin the term false 9, but realistically, we don't have a lot of strikers that are just, absolute poachers. So we have to play someone that can get the most out of the other 2 players, and I think Gio Reyna can be that. And then on the right wing, I have Tim Weah. Now, I think you could realistically put any of these 3 forwards at that striker position because they all can perform it in different ways and to different abilities. Gio is a very, very good passer, and so I think that he kind of makes the most out of the other 2 in that regard. Christian, sometimes to his own detriment, can be a little bit of a ball hog on the wing, so maybe putting him in the middle and allowing him to bring in defenders that way is a better way to go about it. We've seen Chelsea play him up there as a center forward, so you never know. Maybe he does the same here. And then Tim Weah also has played as a 9 for Lille. He typically does it in a 2-striker system rather than a striker with 2 forwards on, 1 on each side. But essentially, they all sort of could play it, but I think this is the way that you get the most amount of talent on the field at once. If there is a definitive 9 or a definitive, really, really solid striker by that point, then sure, maybe we could go there. But I just don't see one right now. As far as justifying those guys and why they would be starting, the way that I see it is Reyna is one of our highest ceiling players. Again, if he's healthy, the things I've seen for him from Dortmund have been far and away better than what a lot of players on our team can do. So I think you got to fit him into the lineup. If it's not at that center role, maybe it's on a wing. Then from there, Christian Pulisic, sort of our star boy. So you got to get him in there. And then Weah has been our best winger for the last 2 to 3 windows at this point, and realistically has been the only bright spot we've had on offense. So I feel like all 3 of those are must-haves, and for that reason, I managed to squeeze them in. Will we do that? I'm not sure. So now for the subs, we'll run through them pretty quickly. I'll go through the forwards first, which I feel like is the most important. Up here, I have Josh Sargent. I also have Ricardo Pepi. And then the last one is Jordan Morris. That's a Greg-ism, just a shout out to Greg Berhalter on that. I feel like Jordan Morris will make it because that's sort of one of his MLS guys that he leans on. And yeah, he fits the prototype of what Greg's looking for. So that's why he's here. Between Josh Sargent and Pepi, I feel like Sargent, you could actually play him in a lot of different roles. So I feel like he's pretty diverse. And at this point, he's been playing pretty good as well for Norwich. Even though they're probably going to get relegated, realistically, I think them getting relegated is better for Sargent because it allows him to actually be able to be more of a forward rather than being a center mid or a right mid, left mid that's playing a lot more defensively. And then Pepi, I don't know. Pepe came onto the scene. He scored 2 goals against Jamaica, and then he scored a goal versus Honduras, I believe. Yeah, Honduras as well. The 2 worst teams in the table. So he has 3 goals against the 2 worst teams in the table, and everyone freaked out and said he was this, this godsend, this, absolute scoring machine that we can't live without, and now he hasn't scored since October. And that's sort of where I stand. Could he be the striker one day? Sure. But the way everyone overreacted was absolutely wild to me. Going over the Bundesliga, sure, you're at a higher level, but if you're not going to score in your first 6 games, and how many goals did he get throughout the rest of the season? I don't know. And could he get relegated? Maybe. So with all those contributing factors, it's tough for me to say he's our starting striker, and so that's why I went with the 3 forwards that I did. Now, getting into the midfield, this one, not as fun. As far as who I have here, Brendan Aronson, he's probably one of the best players that we have on the bench. You could make the case maybe that he's a starter, but I don't see it. Maybe by then, who knows, but I don't see it again. Behind that, as far as midfielders go, Luca De La Torre is a good option. He's sort of shined recently. I don't know if I'd put him that high up there, but he definitely is an option. Beyond that, Gianluca Busio as well. Greg's shown a liking to him in the past and has called him into a ton of camps. I personally don't see him being that good, but Greg sees it, so who am I to say? Then at our backup 6 role would be Kellen Acosta, so he would be backing up Tyler Adams. Not really someone I want to see, but someone that could be there. Now, as far as the defenders, this is where it gets a little tricky. For our fullbacks, I would go with DeAndre Yedlin, which isn't fun, but it's kind of what we got to do, and it's what Greg's been doing, so I'm just going to, whenever there's a spot that I'm not sure about, I'm going to go with Greg's choice. Maybe by then, one of the other young fullbacks has sort of made their way on up, but I don't think that's the case. And then other than that, Reggie Cannon as well would be a good backup fullback option. Then for our center backs, we could go with Walker Zimmerman and Miles Robinson. I wouldn't have a problem with either of those guys starting. Again, as I said before, our center backs are really up in the air. You can switch them out as you please. I don't think I'd have too much of a problem with it either way. And then our backup goalkeeper would be Matt Turner in this instance. And then there will be a few fringe guys that are kind of thrown in there along with that to fill out the rest of the team. But that's sort of the way I'm seeing it right now. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to leave a like. Would appreciate it greatly. If you want to see more videos like this as soon as they go live, make sure to subscribe. And also, I'd love to hear your comments on the team, what you think I'm wrong on, what you think could happen as we head into the World Cup. Always fun to see what you guys have to say as well. So with that said, hopefully you guys have a wonderful day, and peace.